I first saw Elena Martinez in sophomore year chemistry class, and I knew immediately that she was different from everyone else. She sat 3 rows ahead of me, always on the left side near the windows where the afternoon light would catch her dark hair and make it shine like polished mahogany. She had this habit of tucking a strand behind her ear when she was concentrating on a problem, and I found myself watching for that gesture every single class. My name is Daniel Reeves, and I've never been good with people. Not in the way that matters, anyway. I can talk to them, sure. I can make small talk about the weather or last night's game. But connecting, actually forming bonds, that's always been beyond me. My mother used to say I was particular about people. My father, before he left, said I was intense. My high school guidance counselor suggested I might benefit from social skills development. They were all wrong. I wasn't broken or deficient. I just hadn't found the right person yet. Until Elena. She was everything I wasn't. Popular without being obnoxious about it. Smart without making others feel stupid. Beautiful in a way that seemed effortless. No heavy makeup, no desperate attempts at attention. She wore simple clothes, mostly jeans and sweaters, and she always smelled like vanilla and something floral I could never quite identify. I learned everything about her that first semester. She was on the debate team. She volunteered at the animal shelter on weekends. Her favorite color was forest green. She drank hot chocolate instead of coffee. She wanted to be a veterinarian. She had a younger brother named Marcus who she picked up from middle school every Thursday because their mom worked late shifts at the hospital. I never spoke to her. Not really. Once, she borrowed a pencil from me when hers broke during a pop quiz. "Thanks," she said, flashing me a smile that I replayed in my mind for weeks afterward. I told her she could keep it. She probably threw it away. Junior year, we had English together. I arranged my schedule specifically to match hers. It wasn't hard once I figured out the pattern of her class selections. She always chose morning sessions when possible, always picked classes with teachers who had reputations for being engaging rather than easy. In English, we read Romeo and Juliet. Everyone else thought it was a boring old play about dumb teenagers, but I understood it. I understood Romeo completely. People called him obsessive, said he didn't really love Juliet, that he was just infatuated. But what's the difference, really? When you know someone is meant for you, when you can't imagine existing in a world without them, isn't that love in its purest form? "Mr. Reeves, what do you think about Romeo's decision in Act 3? Mrs. Henderson asked me one day. I'd been staring at the back of Elena's head, watching the way she'd twisted her hair into a braid that day. "I think he was willing to do whatever it took to be with the person he loved. That's admirable. Even murder?" Mrs. Henderson pressed. "Even that," I said. "When you love someone enough, there are no boundaries." The class laughed. They thought I was being edgy, trying to get a rise out of the teacher. But Elena turned around and looked at me. Really looked at me, for maybe the first time. Her expression was unreadable. Then she turned back around, and I felt the loss of her gaze like a physical thing. Senior year, I finally worked up the courage to ask her to prom. I'd been planning it for months. I bought flowers, pink roses because I'd overheard her tell a friend once that red roses were trying too hard. I practiced what I'd say in front of my bathroom mirror until the words sounded natural. I found her at her locker after 6th period on a Tuesday. She was alone, which was rare. Usually she was surrounded by her friends, Katie, the loud one, Jessica, the athlete, and Mia, the quiet one who always seemed to be judging everyone. "Hey, Elena," I said, holding out the flowers. She looked surprised to see me, then noticed the roses. "Oh, hi, Daniel, right?" She remembered my name. My heart hammered in my chest. "Yeah, Daniel Reeves. We've had a few classes together." Right. She smiled politely, but there was confusion in her eyes. "What's up? I was wondering if you'd like to go to prom with me." The words came out smoother than I'd practiced them. Her smile faltered. "Oh, Daniel, that's really sweet, but you don't have a date yet," I interrupted. I checked. Her expression changed then. Something flickered across her face. Was it fear? Discomfort? "You checked?" "I just meant, I heard you mention to Katie that you were probably going to go with the group. I thought maybe you'd like to go with someone instead." "With me?" She was quiet for a long moment. People were starting to notice us, to watch. I could feel their eyes, could hear the whispers starting to spread like ripples in water. "I'm really flattered," she said carefully, "but I'm not looking to go with a date this year. The group thing is more my speed. But thank you for asking." That was brave. She said it kindly, with that same gentleness she probably used on scared animals at the shelter. But I heard what she really meant. "No, not you. Never you." "Right," I said, lowering the flowers. "Of course, I just thought." "It's okay," she said quickly. "Really, I'm sure lots of girls would love to go with you. But I didn't want lots of girls. I wanted her." I walked away with the flowers still in my hand, feeling the eyes of everyone in the hallway burning into my back. Later, I heard the whispers. "Did Daniel Reeves just ask Elena to prom? That's so random." He's kind of creepy, don't you think? I've seen him staring at her in class. They didn't understand. None of them did. That night, I lay in my bed staring at the ceiling, and something crystallized in my mind. Elena had rejected me, but it wasn't really a rejection. She didn't know me well enough to reject me. She was rejecting the idea of me, the version of me that existed in her limited perception. If she really knew me, if she understood how perfect we were for each other, she wouldn't be able to refuse. I just needed to be patient, to wait for the right moment, to show her gradually, carefully, who I really was. I could wait. After all, we had our whole lives ahead of us. Graduation came and went. Elena gave a speech as valedictorian about embracing the unknown future and staying true to yourself. She wore a forest green dress under her gown. I still have a photo from that day. Not one I took, but one I found on Katie's Instagram and saved to my phone. She went to State University, 45 minutes from our hometown. I'd gotten into a decent school 3 hours away, but I'd deferred my enrollment, told my mom I wanted to take a gap year, figure out what I really wanted to do. She was disappointed but not surprised. I'd always been a disappointment to her. I got a job at a coffee shop near campus. Not Elena's campus, that would have been too obvious. But I rented a small apartment in her college town, in a complex popular with students. It took me 3 months of checking the university housing portal obsessively before I found out she was living in Riverside Apartments, Building C. I moved to Building B, 2 floors up and across the parking lot. From my bedroom window, if I stood at the right angle, I could see her living room window. I learned her schedule through careful observation. She had classes on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings, Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. She worked part-time at a veterinary clinic on the weekends. She studied at the campus library most evenings, usually leaving around 9 o'clock. She jogged on Sunday mornings at 7, following the same route through the park. I never followed too closely. I stayed back, kept my distance, made sure she never noticed me. This wasn't stalking. Stalking implied malicious intent, implied wanting to harm someone. I just wanted to understand her, to learn about her life, to be ready for when our paths naturally crossed again. Because they would cross. I'd make sure of it. I started shopping at the same grocery store she frequented, the Trader Joe's on 5th Street, Thursday evenings around 6. She had a routine there too. She always started in the produce section, selecting her fruits carefully, examining each apple or pear before placing it in her bag. Then dairy, then frozen foods, ending in the snack aisle where she had a weakness for dark chocolate-covered almonds. The first time I bumped into her there was 3 months after I'd moved to town. "Elena?" I said, feigning surprise as I turned the corner into the produce section. She looked up from the avocados she was examining. "Oh, hi." She squinted at me, trying to place my face. Daniel Reeves. We went to high school together." "Right, Daniel. Wow. Small world. Do you go to State?" "No, I'm actually taking some time off, figuring things out. Working at a coffee shop downtown." "You?" "Yeah. I'm a sophomore here. Pre-vet." She smiled, relaxed now that she'd placed me. "How crazy that we both ended up in the same town." "Really crazy," I agreed. "What are the odds?" We chatted for a few minutes. Surface-level stuff about how college was going, whether she liked the town, what she was studying. Then her phone buzzed and she glanced at it. "Sorry, I have to run. Study group in 20 minutes. But it was really good to see you, Daniel." "You too. Maybe I'll see you around." "Yeah, maybe." She waved and headed toward the checkout. I watched her go, my heart pounding with exhilaration. She'd talked to me, really talked to me. And she'd been friendly, warm even. This was progress. After that, I orchestrated more coincidental meetings. The campus library, I started studying there even though I wasn't a student, getting a community membership that allowed me access. The park where she jogged, I took up running, making sure to pass her at least once a week with a casual wave and "Hey, fancy seeing you here." The coffee shop where she sometimes met friends, I switched to a location closer to campus and made sure I was there on the days I'd observed her visiting. "Elena, come here often. First coffee's on me. High school reunion discount." Each time, she was friendly. Each time, we talked a little longer. I learned new things about her. She was thinking about adopting a cat from the shelter where she volunteered. She was stressed about organic chemistry. She'd broken up with her high school boyfriend in freshman year and hadn't dated much since. She was close with her roommate, a girl named Sophie who I'd never seen smile. 6 months passed this way. 6 months of careful cultivation, of building trust, of slowly becoming a familiar presence in her life. I knew it was working when she started texting me occasionally. Nothing serious. "Just saw this meme and thought of you," or "remember that teacher from high school who..." But it was contact. She was thinking about me. I thought about her constantly, every waking moment and most of my dreams. I had photos of her on my phone, screenshots from her Instagram and Facebook, printed copies in a box under my bed. I had notes about her. Her routines, her preferences, her moods. I could tell when she was happy by the way she walked. I could tell when she was stressed by how many times she ordered takeout instead of cooking. My coworkers at the coffee shop asked if I was dating anyone. Sort of, I'd say. It's complicated. My mother called every Sunday and asked if I'd made any friends, met any nice girls, started thinking about going back to school. I'm working on it, I'd tell her, and it wasn't a lie. One evening in March, I was at the library, our library, as I'd started thinking of it, when Elena walked in with Sophie. They settled at a table near the windows, spreading out textbooks and laptops. I was tucked in my usual corner, partially hidden behind a bookshelf, where I could watch without being obvious. They studied for maybe an hour before Sophie's phone rang. She got up to take it outside, leaving Elena alone. This was my moment. I grabbed my coffee cup and walked over casually. "Elena, hey." She looked up, startled, then smiled. "Daniel, I didn't know you studied here." "Yeah, sometimes. Good atmosphere for reading. How's the organic chem treating you?" "Terrible," she laughed. "I'm pretty sure this exam is going to destroy me." "You'll do fine. You're the smartest person I knew in high school." She blushed slightly. "I don't know about that." "I do." I held her gaze for just a moment longer than casual, letting her see the sincerity in my eyes. She looked away first, tucking that strand of hair behind her ear, the gesture I'd been in love with since sophomore year. Well, I should probably get back to it. "Right, of course. But hey, if you need a study break sometime, want to grab coffee? Catch up properly?" She hesitated, and in that hesitation, I saw her weighing it. Saw her trying to decide if I was asking as a friend or as something more. "Sure," she said finally. "That would be nice." "Great. How about Saturday? There's a good place on Main Street." "Sounds good. Text me the details?" "Will do." Sophie came back then, and I took it as my cue to leave. But as I walked away, I could feel the success thrumming through my veins. She'd said yes. We had a date. Well, not a date. Not yet. But it was a start. Saturday came, and I met Elena at the coffee shop I'd suggested, a small independent place I knew she'd like, with good natural light and comfortable seating. I'd gotten there early, scoping out the best table, the one by the window but not too exposed. She arrived exactly on time, wearing jeans and a cream-colored sweater. Casual? Comfortable. She hadn't dressed up, which stung a little, but I pushed the feeling down. This was still progress. We talked for 2 hours. It was the longest conversation we'd ever had, and it was everything I'd hoped for. She told me about her classes, her dreams of opening her own veterinary practice someday, her worries about whether she was smart enough or strong enough for such a demanding career. "You're definitely both," I assured her. "I've never doubted that about you." "You barely know me," she laughed. But I did know her. I knew her better than anyone. I knew she woke up at 6:47 every morning to her alarm, hitting snooze exactly once. I knew she cried at movies but tried to hide it. I knew she talked to herself when she was alone in her apartment. I knew her favorite song, her biggest fears, her secret hope that maybe she'd meet someone who understood her completely. I knew everything except how to tell her all of that without sounding insane. "I know you better than you think," I said carefully. "We spent 4 years in the same schools. You don't forget someone like you." She smiled, but there was something uncertain in it. "That's sweet, Daniel." After coffee, we walked around downtown for a while. I'd memorized the route I wanted us to take, past the bookstore she loved, through the park where she felt most peaceful, ending at the small art gallery that always had local student work displayed. "This has been really nice," she said as we stood in front of a painting of the river at sunset. "I'm glad we ran into each other again." "Me too. We should do this more often." "Yeah, maybe. I'm pretty busy with school and work, but it's nice having a familiar face around." A familiar face. Is that all I was to her? After everything? I swallowed my frustration. "Of course, whenever you have time." Over the next month, I made sure she had time. I learned her schedule even better, positioning myself in her path more frequently. The grocery store, the library, the campus coffee shop, the path between her apartment and campus. Each time she saw me, she seemed less surprised and more pleased. "We have to stop meeting like this," she'd joke. But I never wanted to stop. I started suggesting activities. "There's a movie playing at the Dollar Theater. That new sci-fi one you mentioned wanting to see. The animal shelter is having an adoption event this weekend. Want to check it out together? There's a farmer's market on Sunday mornings. Great coffee and fresh pastries." She said yes more often than she said no. We were building something, I was sure of it. She laughed at my jokes. She texted me first sometimes. She told me things she was worried about. Things that mattered to her. But she never crossed the line. Never let it become more than friendship. When we went to the movies, she bought her own ticket and sat with a careful space between us. When we got coffee, she always insisted on paying for her own drink. When I offered to walk her home after a late study session, she said it was sweet but unnecessary. I was running out of patience. In May, near the end of her sophomore year, I decided to make my move. We'd been spending time together for nearly 8 months. If she didn't see by now that we were meant to be together, I needed to tell her directly. I planned it carefully. I asked her to dinner, a real dinner, at a nice Italian restaurant downtown. I wore my best shirt, brought flowers again, pink roses, like the first time, and practiced what I'd say. She showed up in a sundress, yellow with white flowers. She looked beautiful, and for a moment when she walked in, I let myself believe that she'd dressed up for me, that she knew what this evening really was. Dinner went well. We talked easily now, the conversation flowing naturally. I ordered wine even though we were both underage. The waiter didn't card us, and she laughed about it, nervous but excited. By dessert, I was certain that this was the right time. "Elena," I said, reaching across the table to take her hand. "I need to tell you something." She looked down at our hands, and I felt her instinctively start to pull away before she stopped herself. "Okay, these past few months, getting to know you again, spending time with you, it's been the best part of my life. You're amazing. You're smart and kind and beautiful. And I think we have something special." "Daniel," she started, but I kept going. "I know we started as just old classmates running into each other, but it's become more than that. At least for me. I really care about you, Elena. I think I'm falling in love with you." The words hung in the air between us. Her hand had gone still in mine, not squeezing back but not pulling away either. Her face was carefully neutral, but I could see the wheels turning behind her eyes. "I care about you too," she said slowly. "As a friend. You've been really great, and I appreciate having you in my life. But Daniel, I don't have those kinds of feelings for you. You could, though, if you gave us a chance. We're good together. You know we are." She pulled her hand away then. "I don't think so. I'm sorry. I really value our friendship, but that's all it is for me. That's all it can be." "Why?" The word came out harsher than I intended. Because I just don't feel that way about you. Chemistry isn't something you can force. But we do have chemistry. I've seen the way you laugh at my jokes, the way you light up when you see me. That's not nothing. That's friendship," she said firmly. "Daniel, I'm sorry if I gave you the wrong impression, but I've only ever seen you as a friend. You're wrong." I could hear the desperation in my own voice now. "You're wrong about this. About us. If you just give me a real chance." "I can't," she interrupted. "And I'm sorry, but I need to be clear with you. I'm not interested in dating you. Not now, not ever. You're a nice guy, but we're not compatible that way." The words hit me like physical blows. Not now, not ever. We're not compatible. I felt something crack inside me, something that had been barely held together with hope and planning and patience. "I should go," Elena said, standing up. "Thank you for dinner, but I think it's better if we take some space from each other for a while." "Elena, wait." But she was already grabbing her purse, already heading for the door. I threw some cash on the table and followed her out into the warm evening air. "Please, just listen to me," I called after her. She turned around on the sidewalk, and I saw something I'd never seen in her face before. Fear. "Daniel, I've listened. I've been clear. I don't want to hurt your feelings, but you need to respect my decision. How can you make a decision without really knowing me? Without giving us a real shot? I know enough. I'm sorry, but this is over. Please don't contact me anymore." She turned and walked away quickly, and I stood there watching her go, feeling my entire world crumbling around me. This wasn't how it was supposed to happen. This wasn't how our story was supposed to go. I walked back to my apartment in a daze. The evening air felt too warm, too thick, like I was moving through water. My hands were shaking. My mind was racing. Not now, not ever. Those words kept echoing in my head, bouncing around like shrapnel. How could she say that? After everything? After all the time I'd spent? All the careful planning? All the moments I'd engineered to bring us closer together? I'd done everything right. I'd been patient. I'd been kind. I'd been exactly what she needed, even if she didn't realize it yet. The apartment felt suffocating when I got home. I paced from room to room, unable to settle, unable to think straight. The box under my bed caught my eye, the one with all the photos, all my notes about her. I pulled it out and spread everything across my floor. Pictures of Elena laughing, Elena studying, Elena running in the park. Screenshots of her texts to friends, posts from her social media. My detailed notes about her routines, her preferences, her life. Looking at it all spread out like this, I realized how much time I'd invested. Years of my life, dedicated to understanding her, to being ready for her, to becoming the person she needed. And she'd thrown it all away with 5 words. Not now, not ever. We're not compatible. The anger started as a small burning in my chest and grew until it consumed everything else. It wasn't fair. I'd done everything right. She was the one who was wrong, who couldn't see what was right in front of her. Around midnight, I found myself outside Riverside Apartments. I'm not even sure how I got there, I'd been so lost in my thoughts that the walk from my place to hers had passed in a blur. Her lights were still on. Through her window, I could see her moving around her living room. She was on the phone with someone, probably Sophie or Katie, probably telling them all about the crazy guy who'd confessed his feelings at dinner. I waited in the shadows of the parking lot, watching. An hour passed, then another. Finally, around 2 in the morning, her lights went off. I knew where she kept her spare key, under the fake rock near her back patio. She'd mentioned it once, months ago, when Sophie had locked herself out. Such a small detail, but I'd filed it away with all the other pieces of information about her. The key was right where she'd said it would be. I let myself into her apartment silently. Everything was dark and quiet. I could hear her breathing from the bedroom, slow and steady. She was asleep, completely unaware that I was there. I stood in her living room for a long time, just listening to that breathing. Part of me wanted to leave, to walk away and pretend this night had never happened. But a louder part of me, the part that had been growing and growing since dinner, knew that I couldn't leave. Not like this. Not after everything. If she wouldn't choose to be with me, then I had to make the choice for both of us. I walked to her bedroom door, pushed it open slowly. She was curled on her side, facing away from me, her dark hair spread across the pillow. In sleep, she looked peaceful, innocent, beautiful. "Elena," I whispered. She stirred but didn't wake. "Elena," I said louder. This time her eyes opened. For a moment, she was confused, disoriented. Then she saw me standing in her doorway and sat up fast, her hand reaching for her phone on the nightstand. "Don't," I said, and something in my voice made her freeze. "Daniel, what are you doing here? How did you get in?" "I needed to see you. To make you understand. Get out." Her voice was shaking. "Get out right now or I'm calling the police." "You're not listening. You never listen." I stepped into the room. "I've spent years watching you, learning you, becoming the perfect person for you. And you just dismissed it all like it meant nothing." "Watching me?" Her face went pale. "What do you mean watching me?" "At school. After graduation. I moved here to be near you. I've been here the whole time, Elena. All those coincidental meetings? They weren't coincidences. I made them happen. I learned your schedule, your routines, everything about you. Because I love you." "That's not love," she whispered. "That's stalking. You've been stalking me." "Don't call it that. Don't cheapen what I feel for you. You need help, Daniel. Please, just leave and I won't call the police. We can forget this happened." But I couldn't forget. And neither could she. That was the problem. "I can't leave," I told her. "Because if I leave now, you'll get a restraining order. You'll tell everyone what a creep I am. You'll make sure I can never get close to you again." "That's exactly what I'm going to do." She was braver now, anger overcoming her fear. "You're sick. What you've done is sick." "I'm sick?" The rage that I'd been holding back all evening finally broke free. "I devoted myself to you. I shaped my entire life around you. And you couldn't even give me a chance? Because you're not entitled to a chance." Her voice rose. "I don't owe you anything just because you decided to obsess over me. That's not how any of this works." She reached for her phone again, but I was faster. I grabbed it out of her hand and threw it across the room. It hit the wall and clattered to the floor. "You're making me do this," I said. "This is your fault." "My fault?" She was crying now. "I didn't do anything. I was just trying to live my life." "Exactly. You were living your life without me. Like I didn't exist. Like I didn't matter." "You don't matter." She screamed it at me, all pretense of calm gone. "You're nothing to me. You were nothing in high school and you're nothing now. You're just some creepy stalker who can't take no for an answer." The words echoed in the small bedroom. Nothing. I was nothing to her. After everything, I was still nothing. Something broke in me then. Not gradually, but all at once, like a dam giving way. The anger, the hurt, the years of careful patience, it all came flooding out in a moment of terrible clarity. "If I can't have you," I heard myself say, and my voice sounded strange, distant, like it was coming from somewhere else, "then no one can." Her eyes went wide. She tried to run, to push past me, but I was bigger, stronger. We struggled. She fought harder than I expected, clawing and screaming. But the apartment walls were thick and it was 3 in the morning and no one came. I don't remember the exact moment it happened. My hands were around her throat, and she was fighting. And then suddenly she wasn't fighting anymore. She just went still, her eyes staring up at me with a mixture of fear and something else, maybe pity, maybe disgust. Then nothing. Her eyes saw nothing. She was nothing. I stood there for a long time, looking down at what I'd done. Elena Martinez, the girl I'd loved since sophomore year chemistry class, the girl I'd devoted my entire life to, was gone. And I had killed her. The reality of it hit me in waves. Horror, panic, a strange detached calm. I'd crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. I'd done something that couldn't be undone. I should have felt regret, remorse, something human. But all I felt was empty, hollowed out. If I couldn't have her, And now no one could have her. Then what was the point of any of it? I sat on the floor next to her bed for hours, waiting for the sun to rise. Waiting for someone to knock on the door. Waiting for anything to give me direction, to tell me what came next. But nothing came. Just silence. Just the slow realization of what I'd become. At some point, as the first light of dawn started filtering through the curtains, I heard sirens in the distance. Growing closer. Sophie, I realized. Elena must have texted her before I'd arrived, told her about the uncomfortable dinner. And when Elena didn't respond to Sophie's goodnight texts, when she didn't answer her phone calls, Sophie must have called for a wellness check. The police would be here any minute. I thought about running. I thought about lying. I thought about all the ways this could have gone differently if Elena had just said yes, if she'd just given me the chance I deserved. But it was too late for any of that now. The sirens stopped outside. I heard car doors slamming, heavy footsteps on the stairs. I stayed sitting on Elena's bedroom floor, next to the body of the only person I'd ever loved, and waited for the ending I'd written for both of us. The door burst open. And my story, such as it was, came to its inevitable end.